So if you look here, yeah, I know, T. I know, I've given up. So if we look here, if you start the sentence, the aim of this paper is to, if you end up in the wrong place, guys, you can't write English. It's as simple as that. Just remember, you have to constantly be focusing back at your title. My suggestion is write the title out on a piece of paper in big bold letters or printed big, and then just stick it against the wall where you are working and working on this project, because everything ties back to that title. So if you've said in your title to explain or to explore or to describe, remember here you have to use the same word. So if you're doing an exploratory study, is to explore whatever is in the title. You cannot get to the wrong point. So I've given some here. If you complete these sentences, again, you are where you need to be. I think the one thing I want to show in terms of the rubric itself, if you give me a second, because I've gone and closed the rubric, which is so silly. Yeah, we won't talk about that. Can I just see, can you guys, oh, yeah, it is showing there. Okay. So if we look at the rubric, what the rubric does, it combines two elements into this part of it. Okay, so the research topic, project title we've spoken about, we've got there. So it is the aim and rationale. So guys, please have a glance at that. One of the things that obviously is important is the golden thread that I've spoken about. They suggest credible sources, that your aim must be underpinned. If you are going to have some theoretical definition, you will need credible sources with that. I've never seen an aim written with credible sources. Unfortunately, this is the rubric that we mark to. So just, maybe use, if you've got a particular concept, shove a source in there, highlighting that particular concept. The second part, guys, is to remember that once we've done that, you have to write your rationale, and you need to type this somewhere. Yeah, can I just say, who's asking that? Taralee, yeah, so we've decided that we want to keep it formal. But when you do qualitative research, there's absolutely nothing with using the first person. So I think just in this paper, it is intended to. But yeah, so there's been a formal decision. But remember, I use these slides across honors and masters, but there is nothing preventing you to write in the first person if you are doing qualitative research. But because we are concerned that people will get confused, we've sort of said that we will stick to the sort of, doing it in the third person. But it is a valid point, Tyree. But generally, qualitative research, nothing wrong with doing that. Okay. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, I think just try and stay with the formal language. I wouldn't even have noticed that, to be honest with you. Right. So in the rationale and the relevance, if we talk the rationale, guys, the best way to think of the rationale is to find an answer to the following question. No problem, Edel. If you write this question down, and I want you guys to write it down somewhere. If we write the rationale, the best question to ask yourself is, what would happen should I have left this problem alone? No problems, Debs. What would happen if I left this problem alone? Or what will happen should I leave this problem alone, if this problem is left alone? And I can't even speak English tonight. What would happen if I leave this problem alone, or if this problem is left alone? If you tell me nothing, you don't have a reason to do research. If you tell me that there will be significant consequences, then you can start writing your justification or your rationale. So just to say the question again, what would happen should I leave this research alone, or should this research be left alone? So if I think, and I just see Edel's names there, Edel is looking at what we can do to retain nurses. What would happen if we left this research unattended, Edel? What would happen if
Um,
we just let the
I would
things stay
continue,
as they
yeah.
are?
I would continue to lose professional nurses from the hospital, and that would impact on the ability to provide quality nursing care to the patients.
And there is your justification for doing it. So if you asking me why is this relevant and why is it worth investigating, there's nothing more powerful than that. Losing qualified people and not being able to deliver crucial services in a critical area. So immediately, if you can have that kind of powerful motivation, oh, Justine, it is the golden thread. This is just the extra, this is the additional motivation as to the reason why you would want to do it. And that's why I take a little bit of a slightly different tack to it, the sort of what would happen if we left it alone. Anyone else want to tell me what they or what would happen if they left the research unattended to? Sorry about that. I should have muted. Anyone else in terms of what would happen if we left your research alone, or if we just allowed the problem to fester? I mean, in terms of Edel's example, those are serious consequences, guys, and those consequences give us enough justification as to the value of the research. Absolutely, Yvonne. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. Okay, that is so, so good. I mean, very, very good. It is significant. It is significant. And if you see the number of people testing on the spectrum, the consequences are unimaginable and unimaginably poor. Okay. Anyone else want to share? Come on. Okay. Yeah, I mean, and it's a negative. It is a negative economic impact. It is a money loser. It is people will essentially go closer to poverty. Spot on, Debs. So, guys, ask that question. If you can ask that question, you can write this. Okay. So please remember that you want to give us the environment. For example, um, sorry, I just am reading who else submitted. For example, Edel, you can give us additional stats and numbers and the consequences of a lack of service delivery. And there are lots of examples of that in hospitals and in certain areas in South Africa. Guys, so it's the reason it really is the idea of why is this essential? And it really starts to place us in terms of the significance and the novelty. But ultimately, the impact is about making a real difference. And then obviously we can use the term justification. And you can see here in terms of how you can write it. There's quite a lot there. Just remember that there's not too much duplication. So just be careful that in terms of that, it really just fits into where we're going and why it's necessary. Right. So that one is important and it links together in terms of this here. Hold on. Okay, so why am I not seeing the other one? Oh my gosh, what is going on? Right, so if we look here very quickly, so again, that alignment there, and it also tells us essentially and how we're focusing on the particular area, and it has to link to the methodology. Just in terms of writing, a lot of the stuff that we're doing in terms of the qualitative stuff would be about the people's perceptions of consequences. In terms of quantitative research, it would be those relationships. I'm just reading additional ones here. Yeah, so Josh, for me, AI is our reality. Other companies will start use it. Other areas will be using it. In terms of an integrated organization, you could maximize the efficiency in one area, and you will still have a bottleneck because your AI is deficient. So the consequence is that everyone else is moving ahead, and we will end up being the bottleneck unless we consider the positive consequences that it may have. I quite like that one, Boyle. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, the truth is we have a war on for skills, and part of that with being in battle with other people for skills, it is important that we start thinking strategically about our HR. Okay, quite like that. Right. So the next phase, guys, is the sample. Now, those of you that were with whoever did the undergrad INR SREPR, you'll recognize these slides if they're using the same slides that I'm using. Guys, so in terms of your population, you have to start talking broad and moving narrower to the people that will actually form part of your research project. So if we look at the population, if you see here, so it gives us an idea of our profile. It will also tell us in terms of our, oh, don't worry, Tyra Lee, I can't remember 2 weeks ago. So if you can't remember 2 years ago, you are a year and something like 50 weeks ahead of me. Okay, guys, and then how will we actually arrive at our participants? Go from the broad and move to the narrow. So, in terms of your population, I think the first one is that it has to make sense. The people that you select be part of your research in terms of your research problem, because we are looking for individuals who can contribute and make a real difference in terms of adding ideas to our research in finding solutions to our research problem. So, if we look at the population, so we talk about the population, and generally, when we talk about the target population, it's everyone that falls in your population parameters. Again, guys, that lead will be taken from your research problem. So your overall population could be all the teachers. Your accessible population could be, for example, teachers in Pietermaritzburg. Your target population, people in Pietermaritzburg. Your accessible population could be people at a particular school. So generally what we do is we go from the very broad, the entire population, to the target, to the accessible population. And in terms of the population, I think there are a couple of things, right? When identifying your population, find people who will give us answers to our research question. The second one, indicate the characteristics here. People who work within supply chain at a certain level in ultimately a particular province, but start with the broad and then go to the narrow. So the target population, I would imagine people in Pietermaritzburg. The accessible population might be people at a particular school. So if we are going to look at positivism, so remember at this stage, if you're doing qualitative research, these are the slides that you need to delete. We're going to be straightforward, traditional in terms of our sampling techniques. Traditionally, you would adopt probability sampling whenever you do quantitative research. Now, there are moments that you can step away from it, but then we have to explain why we're using something that really fits with qualitative research. My suggestion, stay with probability sampling. The key thing about probability sampling is that in your population or your target population, everyone has equal opportunity of being selected to be in the actual research, to complete the surveys in terms of what we're doing here. If we look at the alternatives, please don't get too fancy, guys. We've got so little time ahead in terms of trying to think and trying to do this. I would just do simple random sampling. Choose people, throw their names in a hat, and draw from the hat. Simple random sampling. I don't know if you want to do systematic sampling. I don't think we have the time to do that. Names in a hat and draw the names from a hat. I think for quantitative research, and I can't remember the numbers, I have shared the numbers previously. I think we need about 10 or 15 surveys completed. Obviously, if you go beyond that, convenience sampling is fine, thoroughly, but you need to just say that it is convenience. But generally, convenience sampling for me is random sampling. Because if you read what random sampling is, I think, yeah, you might have to explain that a little bit better, okay? Um, so for qualitative research, you will do non-probability sampling. For quantitative research, you will do probability sampling. Thoroughly, are you doing quantitative research? Oh, you silly Billy, I'm trying to talk and answer. Are you doing quantitative? Okay, so not qualitative. You can do convenience sampling. You just need to explain your reason for it. Okay. So it becomes non-probability sampling, convenience sampling, but you'd have to give us a valid reason. It could be that there is a small population in a particular area that can contribute. I think to keep it simple, um, stop going ahead. Okay, I think to keep it simple, my thinking is do it probability sampling, random sampling. I've got a feeling it's going to be very, very close thoroughly. My worry is who moderates it. That's my biggest fear. Okay. So if you're using a positivist approach, go probability sampling, random sampling. Ongs, are you doing quantitative or qualitative research? Oh, why are you talking to me? I'm not even talking to you now, right now, woman. We're talking to the quantitative researchers. Silly Billy. Okay, that's minus 25% in your assignment. Okay. Oh, you can report me again. This is not a day for playing around. Okay, I think thoroughly reconsider that. Okay. Right. In terms of positivism, and I've kept all of these together, I think we are going to do our research design. I think it's about looking at Oh, that's wonderful news, Yvonne. I feel so powerful now. I feel so macho that I'm going to throw things at people now. I think the important bit, I have to warm up before I throw things. You just need to know that. Guys, in terms of quantitative research, you can talk about, because we're testing objective theories, I think you would generally want to use existing scales, because our default setting here is that you are going to use, Yvonne got it right. Our default settings is that you will use surveys. Please do me a favor when you use surveys, guys, take existing surveys, take existing scales, they are absolutely everywhere, and then just personalize them in terms of your requirements. You don't want to go through the entire process of trying to make something valid and reliable and all that other nonsense. So for me, stay with surveys. We are going to use existing scales where you can. In terms of a survey, guys, I think generally you are going to use a Likert scale, I would imagine. There are plenty examples of how to put it together. If you look at your third year textbook, which is readily available on the library, you can have a glance at that. And then in terms of our analysis itself, we are trying to make sure that the scale we use is internally valid, that the questions make sense in terms of each other, that they are results that we can generalize on. Can I just say we are not doing generalizability as a main focus? If you're only doing 10 to 15 survey questionnaire is being completed. I mean, you need a couple of hundred to do that properly. Reliability, we obviously know it is that sense that we have the likelihood of a repetition of results, and then objectivity. I think please just make sure that you use existing scales, because we don't want our own sort of values to influence that. In terms of your data analysis, I think generally if you use Google Forms, if you use Microsoft Forms, I would urge you not to use SurveyMonkey. The kind of analyses are already done. The sort of mean, median, and mode stuff, those are all done. So you can easily copy that off there. I will go into more detail, guys, with this when we go through the other slides. But I think at this stage, your focus is to get your scale, to personalize your scale, and then to do this description for me. Right, I'm going to stop there for the quantitative people. Any questions, any concerns at this stage? Have you been able to find scales? Courts, have I not put it online already? Oh, please tell me I didn't mess that up. I honestly thought I'd put it online. Hold on. Yeah, no, they're there. They're over there, guys. Silly. There they are. So under more resources, and yeah, so if you go more resources and submission guidelines, they're over there. Okay, I'll upload a separate one. Okay, let me quickly see what I've put there. The worst thing with the way I do things is where did that go? Okay, let's try that again. Where would that have gone, guys? You are kidding me. I don't know where it's downloaded to. Can I see what is there, and then I'll upload this one as well? Okay. Unless that's not, I'll upload it. Sorry, courts. Okay. Right. Now, interpretivism. Are they there? Oh, stop. You guys are irritating me tonight. Minus 25%, courts. Minus 25%. Are they really there? Yes. Guys, I'm in a foul mood. Can't you hear? Right, let's look at interpretivism. Yvonne's now going to really be scared. Okay, guys, interpretivism. Guys, when we look at qualitative research, I think the key I can find you wherever you are. Remember that, Yvonne. I have all your detail. Just remember, guys, in terms of research, qualitative research is about perceptions and people's views of the world and essentially understanding a particular topic within the context of where it's being lived. So the focus all the time is to start asking questions in order to start drawing conclusions that can guide us in terms of our thinking in the future. So the way we do research here is that we do inductive research. So we move from the specific, which will always be your behaviors, your perceptions, your understandings, your views, and out of that we create a general view. So the research design must allow us to really get people to share their perceptions, their views, their thoughts, their understanding of things. In terms of the population, generally the population will always be a lot smaller for qualitative research. I've said that if you can interview 3 people, that's more than sufficient. But if one of the people turn out to be a dud, I suggest to interview a 4th person. So generally, the approach is it's going to be non-probability sampling. I don't like the term convenience sampling, but non-probability sampling, which means that not that people don't have an equal opportunity to be selected to be part of the research. I am suggesting, guys, that you use purposive sampling because if I look at your titles and your topics, I think you need to keep thinking who would be a resource-rich candidate or a resource-rich participant that I can use. So you want to talk to the right people. So purposive sampling allows you to pinpoint somebody who you know is a thought leader, is somebody who's immersed into this particular issue that you're dealing with, and then obviously to interview that person. My also suggestion is that you combine purposive sampling with snowball sampling. So purposive sampling, find your subject matter expert, and if you can't find any more, ask that person as part of snowball sampling for him or her to recommend someone else. So for me, it would be a combination of those two. Can I see as that makes sense? That we go, obviously, it has to be non-probability and then do purposive and then do snowball sampling. It's just easier. It allows us, in terms of our plan, to get people who know what they're talking about. I need to take this slide out. I don't know why the slide is still in here. Um, Again, guys, I always keep looking ahead to future and maybe using the slides again. We are not going to include this information in our write-ups, guys. So please don't talk about any of this. But in future, if you want to do a similar study, we are doing a phenomenological study because we're studying a particular phenomenon in terms of what we have in our and Ongeziwe, whoever irritated me earlier, I can't even remember. It would be the studying a particular phenomenon. In terms of data collection, that is what we're doing, guys. Open-ended. I would just talk about semi-standardized, open-ended interviews, semi-standardized, semi-structured, open-ended interviews. In terms of open-ended interviews, and we'll talk about this again a number of times, what it means is that you have to ask what and how questions. So similar to the way we've written our research questions, you have to write what and how interview questions. You'll see the very last thing that you're expected to do is to put together your research instrument. So that research instrument would be either your survey, that has to be attached, guys. It also counts quite a bit here. Okay, it counts 20 marks. It counts a heck of a lot. So you have to attach your research instrument. So you've got to show me your survey, or you have to show me your interview questions. Have to show me your interview questions. In terms of those interview questions, please make sure that they are what and how questions. Um, Tyrolee, I would rather do a Likert scale. Yeah, I would do a Likert scale. You can ask multiple choice questions, but why don't you just do a Likert scale where you make statements where people are going to say never, often, etc. No, it's not open-ended. Okay, so yeah, I can steal one here. Hold on a second. I'm just going to cheat a bit, and my apologies. Okay, so where is a nice one? I hope that is okay. So I would recommend this brand to others. Boom. And if you look at Google Forms, it does it in terms of this layout. The one thing that you have to do in terms of Google Forms, guys, please reverse it, because the default setting is that strongly agree is that side. And you want to turn it around, because in terms of scoring it, etc., it actually makes it better to go disagree, or strongly disagree, and get to strongly agree. So when you open your Google Forms, please just change the default to have it run in that sequence there. Okay. Sorry, Debs, I'm reading your question now. Um, you have interviews instead of Debs, are you doing quantitative research? Debbie, no, Deborah, you guys aren't listening to me. You will have surveys if you're doing qualitative, you will have interviews when you're doing qualitative research, you'll have surveys when you're doing quantitative research. I think from next week, I'm going to meet separately with the qualitative and the quantitative people. Oh, minus 25%, Debs, minus 25%, just on principle for irritating me tonight. Hold on, what's that? Oh my word, I'm crying on the inside. Yeah, when you sit in a class and you think, yeah, some people aren't going to pass. Joanne, in terms of now, when you say sub questions, are you talking about your research questions or about your interview questions?
The interview questions. So
So
the
the
one,
interview questions, they won't be sub questions. They'll all
okay.
have equal weight. What you'll do in your interview questions, however, is when you interview, you have to get resource-rich information. So you can ask clarifying questions. I don't know if you mean that as your sub questions.
Yeah, so obviously you've got your overarching question.
No, that's your research question, though. When you
Yes,
talk
yeah,
overarching question, sorry,
yes.
we're
So
going back here now, hey?
no.
We're going back here.
So when you're trying
Yeah.
to answer your question, or and you do your actual interview, what you call it, your interview
Yeah.
sample, or what they call it, the end there. How many
Okay.
questions do we actually have to, or limited to ask to actually answer our research
The
question?
truth is, would imagine you're going to have about 10 questions, and each
Okay,
interview would be about 45 minutes.
okay. So about
So
10
you will
questions.
have 10 research questions, but I
Okay,
can promise you, once you start doing the interviews, you'll see that you'll be asking clarifying questions.
right.
But generally, you only have 10 questions. You don't have sub questions and main questions. They all essentially have equal weighting. I
Okay,
will show questions to you guys, because there's a whole process of getting people to talk, etc. So we'll chat about what those interview questions look like. Okay. I don't know what you mean by that, Boya Mbuso. So you have two types of questions. You have your research questions, and where it says here your research instrument, you have to show me your actual interview question. You have to show me your survey. I don't
Okay, no,
understand
I
your question,
understand.
Boya.
No,
I'm
because
going to slap you.
for
I
this
promise
part,
you've irritated me twice today already. Okay, ask, go for it. I'm being recorded, so you guys
no.
can blackmail me like crazy. Go,
So
Boya.
the questions that we're going to be putting on for this hypothesis, uh, it's not the actual
Boya,
questions we're going to be doing as an
okay, are
interview.
you doing quantitative, qualitative research?
It's qualitative.
Okay, so you don't have a hypothesis. Qualitative research won't have a hypothesis. You'll have research questions and you'll have objectives.
Okay.
You don't get a hypothesis in qualitative research, Boya.
No, okay, no problem. Thanks.
So I think you're overthinking, guys. You're really overthinking. This is just your interview questions. Okay, let me get through this, okay? Let me get through this, okay? Gosh, okay. I think I'm really messing up tonight, guys, because I'm confusing everyone. I think you need to demand a different lecturer. Right. So in terms of data collection, the one that we're using is that. I've given you a whole bunch of other options, guys, but you are really looking at that. If we look at qualitative data collections, they are the interviews. My suggestion is either face to face or do it online. The one thing that you have to do is you have to, when we start looking at your data analysis, you have to transcribe each of your questions. So it's maybe better to actually do it online so that you can use your laptop to record while you're interviewing. I know that for example, what is it? Teams will allow you to transcribe it as well. Otherwise, you have to sit and retype your interviews yourself. Okay, guys, and then just yeah, there is a interview protocol. I'm going to use that word. It's the layout. So for those of you that are putting in your research instrument, you should be putting that detail in there, the heading, the date, etc., and leave space for that. And then obviously, instructions, and it's those things that people can withdraw and it's anonymous, etc. And then your questions, and you can see there it's about the icebreaker. It's about starting with the easy, getting people to talk, and then obviously moving into the key questions that relate and are important in terms of your own topic. And then just your data analysis. Guys, we're going to use something called content analysis. So qualitative content analysis, I will spend quite a bit of time together on this. We don't need to do this yet because this only happens once you've done your data collection. You can give the description of qualitative content analysis there, and then we will, when we get there, I will share that with you. And then your ethical considerations. Yeah, there are a couple of things, guys. Autonomy, anonymity, null, and I've got a feeling this should be okay. Yeah, so informed consent, and I will share all these forms with you, and then obviously the idea that it's doing no harm, and then that it's for the benefit of society, guaranteeing anonymity. Okay, I know that I'm rushing, and I'm sorry, but I really wanted to just show you guys it here. Right. So this is one of the ones that you would have seen previously. Now, the key in terms of using Ariel's document, guys, is to cherry pick what is relevant tonight. Yes, absolutely, Tyrolee, 100%. I will show you that, but yes, there will be that included. Okay. That's actually a very good point. So in terms of this, guys, very similar to what you have, your background discussing your topic, etc. Please now remember we are moving towards having the attention grabbing introduction and then taking us into the topic, etc. The rationale, you can see her rationale for the discussion here. And again, if we have that question, what would happen if we leave it alone? Mobile wallets are accepted everywhere. When we attempted to introduce them in South Africa, they bombed completely, despite the obvious benefits. If we do not find out why they are why people are not buying into it, you will sit with a technology that is really valuable and not being used. So you can look at her layout. You can see in terms of a rationale. That's the rubric, Yvonne. It's the rubric. So you will just cherry pick out of here, but you'll see what's in the rubric. I also, yeah, no, that's all in the rubric. And have I uploaded the layout for this submission already? I'll just see if there's a word layout, and I'm sure that I might have already have shared that. Okay. In terms of the rationale, there it is. Her problem statement. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so there is one shared already. Just have a look for it. I don't know who asked Yvonne. Yeah, so there is a layout of what must go where and in what format. Okay. Guys, quickly help where the layout is. Can somebody just shove it on the group for me as well? Guys, in terms of your problem statement, remember what I said, the part A, the part B, and the part C. You're not writing part A, part B, and part C. You will start with part B, which explains the deficiency, which explains the shortfall. Part A talks about what the ideal is, and then part C gives us an indication of the journey that will follow in this research. Qualitative, using open-ended, semi-structured interviews, using content analysis. Okay, part A, part B, and part C. You can see how she's written her purpose statement. Again, if you start with it, the aim of this study is you cannot end up in the wrong place. Here are her research questions. Thank you so much, Sienna. Josh, look at Sienna's comment. If we look at the research questions, there is her overarching question. And you guys will remember I said, in terms of the overarching question, what is the single broadest question we can ask about this particular topic? And then she has given us the sub-questions. Generally, these sub-questions would, in terms of what we're doing here, be the processes. So when I think of Edel's with the retention of nurses, I definitely would have questions around the sort of training they receive, the work environment, I can't remember, and then obviously the way we reward them, because those are sub-elements of retention. Those questions there, and this is where we sometimes don't get it right, guys, and I don't know if there's something here I can write with, draw. If you look here, the sub-questions become your research objective. Your first sub-question becomes your first research objective. Please remember, if you're using an exploratory study, it would be to explore. If you're using a descriptive study, it would be to describe. If you're using an explanatory study, it'll be to explain. So second question becomes directly related to your second objective and your third objective that way. Right. If you follow this, you can't go wrong. It's an absolute pleasure, Debs. You know, my art, how important my art is to me. But the link is there. And remember, we don't have an objective. I have also told the pod leaders that the main question doesn't get an objective, only the sub-questions. Yeah, I'm in danger with the pen, hey? So you'll skip over this. This is the literature review. We'll worry about this down the line again. as I had said previously, really well done. And then her training methodology, where is that? Okay. So my apologies, this will be about page sampling. Oh, gosh, my apologies for this, guys. Okay, so she starts talking about her research design over here. Just remember to just tell us that you're doing interpretivism or whether you're doing positivism so that we can see the golden thread. There's not a significant discussion on that because that was done in the first submission. So research design, she gives us a description of what a research design is, and unpacks it further. She's got a lot more words to play with than you have. Then she starts with the population and she takes it from target population and then talk about accessible population, talks about the unit of analysis, guys, which will be the individuals that we are going to interview or have complete our questionnaire, and then sampling. Again, you'll see she stayed with a traditional approach. Because this is an interpretivist design, she has stayed with non-probability sampling. I have a feeling that this might be convenience sampling, which is absolutely fine, but generally we would have gone purpose of sampling. I see she's got snowball sampling. I'm very sure she's got purpose of sampling as well. Non-probability, so she's covered that, and she speaks about purpose of sampling. So guys, just remember those stay together. So for the qualitative people, this is a really good example. Aerials is a really good example. Data collection, you'll see she talks about how she's going to get her research participants. She talks about the interviews. She talks about how she's going to do the recording. This is a nice example. And then for data analysis, you'll see she's gone with content analysis. She's given you a wonderful description of what content analysis is. And then obviously this would be how will we measure quality. I can't remember whether there's a quality measure at this stage, but remember, if you are doing quantitative research, you don't use personal pronouns. We've sort of said that we're going to keep it a bit more formal, but as I said earlier, Yvonne, generally, when you do qualitative research, you are most welcome to use personal pronouns. However, because we want to just standardize it in terms of this module, we're not going to allow first person. You have to use third person. Okay, and then just how do we measure the quality of research? Always will be through trustworthiness. Don't use terms like I can't remember reliability and okay, my mind is losing it. Validity, reliability, and generalizability. Those are terms that don't make sense there. If you stick those terms in here, I promise you that you're going to get nailed. So here we look at trustworthiness, and she unpacks trustworthiness for us very, very well. Okay, very, very good example of that. And then, yeah, the summary. Now that is what you're doing. Everything is before page, I don't know what that is, 33. Just remember that the literature review has already been done. I have shared this. Just please make sure, guys, if you're doing quantitative research, use a quantitative example. Okay, use Bradley Smith's. That is quantitative. Use that example because I don't want that confusion again. Okay, if you're looking for a sample to look at, if you're looking for a way to approach this, guys, this was a 91% submission for honors. This is well worth, and I have permission for us to use it. Okay, so I've shouted significantly today already. Now that's down the road there. Any questions?